Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys. Thursday, December the 12th. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and Matt Robinson in the house, ready to break down a huge Thursday slate. It is a monster card tonight on this Thursday. 14 games on tap. And with just one game on Friday, we will tee up the Friday night NHL game, the only game, standalone game in the NHL for Friday, Ottawa, Carolina. At the end of today's show, there will be no Ice Guys show tomorrow. We'll take the day off, and we'll be back on Saturday at noon Eastern with the usual Saturday show. The only thing I'll say about last night's games are Ottawa beat down a bad Anaheim team, struggling Anaheim team, and Buffalo is just so bad right now that even the New York Rangers found a way to beat them last night in that game. So that's really all we're going to say about the recap. Not much to say. I should have done what Alex did and just did the old adios to the card last night because everything I kept small, but I didn't win a damn thing. So not good. But nevertheless, credit to Alex for passing. It was probably the right call. But we are not passing on this Thursday card. It is a huge slate. We're going to jump right into it. Washington and Columbus. We've got Washington minus 165, road favorites, 6.5 being the total here in this game. I like the over by Fecta. We'll start there. Columbus 12-3 to the first period over in their last 15 games. Washington 15-3 to the first period over in their last 18 games. You've got a matchup where we've seen some goals scored between these teams in the past. We have obviously Jet Greaves getting the start for the Columbus Blue Jackets tonight, who's had mediocre numbers throughout his NHL career entering this game. Charlie Lindgren projected for Washington. And the Jackets, though, on home ice are capable of scoring goals. I think Washington can certainly fill up the net against a Jackets defense that's problematic and going to have a very weak goaltender or a weaker goaltender. I think all their goaltenders are weak, quite honestly. But Jet Greaves is someone that obviously, not the experience factor that the other two goalies have, Tarasov and or Merzlikins. So I like first period over and full game over, riding the trends with the first period overs with both teams, which have been absolutely huge. Obviously, of late. Alex, what do you think here? Capitals, Blue Jackets.
Yeah, I played a half unit on that over 1.5 at minus 142 at FanDuel this morning, and I will be looking to add a little bit more in in game, trying to get a cheaper price early in the contest. But like I said, two strong first period over angles matching up against each other, definitely worth betting on. But you want to get something down early. If you're in within that 140, 145 range. If you're 150 or 160, because I've seen that in a couple books, just wait and try and grab it live.
No doubt. This is not Matt's anniversary show. We talked about that at the end of yesterday. He's almost been with us for a year, but that's not quite. We're not quite there yet. December 21st is going to be that time, which falls on a Saturday. So probably something after that, or before, maybe the Thursday show before that will do something. I don't know what, but we kind of did that yesterday. So I don't think Matt will mind if we don't make a big deal out of it when it actually does come around. Matt, what do you think here? Washington, Columbus.
Yeah, since I love the first period over here, and I feel like there will be goals, I think this is a good spot for the same game parlay. First period over, full game over, 5.5. It is a 6.5 line, so it'll be closer to even money, but you might be able to get, plus 110, something like that on the SGP. So that'll be my play for this one.
All right, Pittsburgh and Montreal. We've got even money, minus 110, both sides, 6.5 the total in this game. I like Montreal. I do. Even money. I like the way they're playing. Pittsburgh come back down to earth a little bit after the loss to the to the Colorado Avalanche in their last game by a score of 6-2. Certainly like the way we're seeing this power play really heat up with Patrick Laine back in the fold. Like what we're seeing, obviously, from Lane Hudson on that power play as well. Pittsburgh's own Montreal, and I know I'm going heads up against some strong series history in the Penguins' favor in this head-to-head series, but I think Montreal, the way they're playing, and I certainly got a better price than what's out there now because there's actually been some money coming in on the Canadians here, but I was able to get plus 105, slight home dog price with the Habs in this game. It looks like we're going to see in this matchup, goaltending-wise, Jari versus Montembeault, and certainly Montembeault been trending in a positive direction as far as his play in between the pipes for the Canadians. And I'm going back to, it's not my bargain bin tonight, But I'm absolutely betting the power play point prop once again with Lane Hudson tonight at plus 425. We're still getting a great price with that prop. In fact, it's an even better price than it was the other night against Anaheim. So I do like that as far as Lane Hudson, the power play point prop. Great value. And obviously, he got an assist on Lyonnais' power play goal very early in that game against Anaheim. Alex, what do you like in here? Pittsburgh, Montreal.
Yeah, I laid $1.04 with the Habs, and I was gonna take a shot with the draw, kind of looking at some of the past history. But you mentioned it's been all Pittsburgh of late. Certainly, Montreal's in better form right now. So yeah, just give me the Habs at home at a cheap price.
Yeah, the total's weird. I mean, I'm looking at certainly a Pittsburgh team that I don't like betting unders. I'm not thrilled to bet overs with the Habs at the moment, though. We've talked about this with St. Louis. They're digging in defensively. Mondemo's playing well. They're starting to find ways to win some of these, 3-1, 3-2 type of games. So I think it's a contradictory total, at least for me here. Matt, what do you like here? Pens, Habs.
Yeah, so I think this might be a pass game for me. I sort of lean Montreal. Don't really know what Pittsburgh team we're going to get. It is a road game, obviously. But, we've got a huge fucking card today. So I think for me, I'm just going to stay off this game.
It's reason enough to pass right there with how many games we got. I do think for Pittsburgh, even though I'm on Montreal, Tomasino is worth a look. They got him from Nashville. Just another reason why Nashville stinks. They decide we're not keeping guys that go elsewhere and play well, like Kiefer Sherwood in Vancouver, like Phil Tomasino now here in Pittsburgh. Tomasino's actually scored 3 goals in the last 5 games for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So I think a Philip Tomasino goal prop might be worth a look here for the Penguins here tonight. All right, Anaheim and Toronto. We've got the Leafs massive favorites here, minus 450 home favorites, 6 the total in this game. So I thought coming into tonight, certainly prior to the Anaheim-Ottawa game, where we saw Anaheim just get absolutely smoked in the first period. What were they down 3-0? They ended up losing 5-1 last night to Ottawa. Before that game started, my thinking here was going to be, let's take Toronto first period puck line. Let's take Toronto, team total over. And I still leaned in those directions in this game. But the way Anaheim was so bad early in that game, maybe they're going to come out strong. And then you also factor in that the Anaheim Ducks, prior to last night, did not trail after the first period on the road in any game this season prior to last night. So it kind of scaled back on my thought process with taking Toronto in the first period. But that being said, you'd expect the Leafs to have a strong attention and focus in the first period, knowing just how bad they were in the first period against New Jersey, getting outshot, 15-2. The only reason that game obviously was scoreless was Stolarz, Stoli the goalie, stolen by Stoli, as I said, that game the other night by the Leaf netminder against New Jersey. So there's a focus to start strong, but there should be a focus to start better for Anaheim too after last night's debacle. So plus the price is just not good enough. Like, who really wants to lay minus 105 or minus 110 on a first period puck line, right? It's not the value that I love. So I ended up pumping the brakes, but I do lean to the Leafs first period puck line, Leafs team total over. The total's weird with the full game because certainly, and Stolarz is back in net. Craig Berube is deviating from his alternation of Stolarz and Wolf for tonight. Stolarz is getting another start, and I don't want to bet that guy over the total right now. Yet the series history in Toronto, specifically with the Ducks and the Leafs, I've seen 7-2 games, 9-2 games, 7-0. You've seen the Leafs put up a big number at home in the recent meetings head-to-head against the Ducks here in Toronto, but those were different teams. They're not these are the Berube teams now that are playing solid team defense. So I think the total's a total neutral opinion for me. It could go either way. So I haven't moved on anything yet. I don't think I will pregame, but I do lean Leafs first period puck line and Leafs team total over. What do you think here, Alex? Ducks, Leafs.
Well, like I said, you can't look at a full game under because of how Toronto's history has been against Anaheim, and the Ducks are a bad team. Toronto, even like you said, they're not playing that kind of fire wagon style. They could still probably put up 6 or 7 on their own against the Ducks. So what I'm taking is against his old team, Anthony Stolarz under 1.5 goals against plus 145 at BetMGM. So if he can keep him in a shutout, just allow one, which I think he really could. The way he's in such great form right now, and like I said, against his old team, he might be seeing red and might be stopping everything. So that's the only thing I'm taking here. Anthony Stolarz under 1.5 goals against plus 145. That's available at BetMGM.
I think you just answered my question. I'm like wondering, that's interesting that they would give Stolars back-to-back. Well, this is one of his former teams. That might be why. A little excited to maybe play against Anaheim here tonight in between the pipes, Anthony Stolars. We certainly saw what a motivated Stolars could do in any fashion. The other night it was playing close to home in New Jersey, his home state. Tonight it's against one of his former teams. So does that mean it's another
the team that
Stoli
drafted him,
masterpiece?
mind you? It's with the team he broke into the league with. So, yeah.
Yeah. And Dostal in net for the Ducks. Definitely would rather have him than Gibson right now, and we certainly saw signs of that last night. Dostal hasn't been nearly as good, but he's also been peppered with shots every single night playing behind this Anaheim team. But he's certainly done the best he can in these adverse circumstances, and it could be a lot worse for Anaheim without Lukas Dostal's efforts this year. Matt, what do you think here? Anaheim, Toronto.
This is a tricky one for me. And again, the sides, not a lot of value either way. Even at plus 350, I don't feel like backing the Ducks on a back-to-back after last night's game. Definitely not laying minus 450 on the Leafs or any NHL team for that matter. The total, I love the Leafs total. I just wish it wasn't, minus 170, I think is what I saw it at for 3.5. I don't know. I think the first period over might be the play here for me because I do expect a Toronto potential dominant performance. That's what I would assume. That's obviously what the books feel. But I could see a little juice from Anaheim early, just given how yesterday's game ended. Maybe they chip in with a goal in the first. Toronto gets 1 or 2, and we're looking good for that first period over. So I could make a case there. And I know Grant Clarkson mentioned in the chat, I love a Ryan Strome prop tonight. He's a Toronto boy. I know my buddy Mitch, that's Pendrith's caddy. They're really close friends. I'm sure they'll be at the game if he's up in Toronto right now. As Grant mentioned, a lot of family and friends for Strome there tonight. So I could see, making a case for an anytime goal, anytime assist situation with Strome. But outside of that, I think the first period over is the play for me on this game.
Yeah, I like Nyes and Pacioretty on the second line, so I think there's value there for goal props. I'm going to take a shot with Cutter Gauthier for Anaheim. I did say that if I saw him score, if I see him score a goal, which he did last night against Ottawa, he got their only goal, that we would maybe see him start to heat up, and he's had some good chances lately. So definitely liking the ability to get the Cutter Gauthier tonight at a pretty good price. That eventually you're going to see him get on some kind of hot streak because he's got that kind of finishing ability. We'll see if he can show that here tonight. All right, Kings and Devils. We've got New Jersey minus 150 to minus 155. Home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. You know how I've often said on this show, when we have a situation like with New Jersey tonight, where the goals you should have scored 5 or 6 the other night against Toronto with all the chances you had, all the shots you had. Stolars was just magnificent. Stolars looked like he was wearing Marty Brodeur's jersey from back in the day in New Jersey the other night. That's how well he played. Sometimes when all those shots, all those grade A chances, all those opportunities, and the puck doesn't go in for you one game, it flies in for you the next game. And I think we could see that here tonight for the New Jersey Devils against, we'll see who's in net for the Kings. They haven't confirmed. Riddick is projected, David Riddick, but it isn't confirmed. Darcy Kemper, of course, returned in the last game. But like I said, I think I like these situations. New Jersey knows they could have had 5 minimum against the Leafs the other night. Goalie was awesome. And sometimes, the floodgates that didn't open the previous game do open for the team in the next game. LA's not going to keep this up. They're playing well. We'll give them credit for that, but the road record's still not great. They beat up on a horrific Islanders team that does not much for me as far as, way to go, Kings. You beat the Islanders. Big whoop as far as I'm concerned. I like New Jersey team total in this game, noting that before the game against Toronto, where they've scored 1 goal or less, every game that New Jersey's played following a game where they've scored 1 goal or less, they had won and they had scored at least 3. And in a majority of the games, they had scored at least 4 until the game where they got shut out against Colorado Sunday. And then they had the 1 goal effort in the loss to Toronto where Stolars stole the game for them. So they've been pretty good in these spots most of the season, all season until the Toronto game, where when they've scored 1 or 1 goal or fewer in the previous game, they've been very good bouncing back and winning. and scoring at least 3, and in a lot of cases, 4 goals or more. So I will take the New Jersey team total over 3. I'm going to be a little safer with this, over 3, minus 140 at BetMGM for the Devils team total. And I'm going to take the Devils first period over with the Kings here. Just the first period over. It's 9-1 in the last 10 New Jersey games. The 9-game streak got snapped by Toronto, but it only got snapped because of that Stolarceny, I guess you could say, the other night in that game. Otherwise, there could have been 2 goals in that opening period. So Kings Devils first period over, and Devils team total over 3 is the way I'm going here in this game. Alex, Kings Devils.
Yeah, I'm just going with that first period over. I laid 120 with that earlier. Like I said, I think we can see goals early, but I don't trust LA to keep playing at high at the level that they are. Like I said, with New Jersey, they should have had a ton of goals against Solars. So maybe the dam breaks tonight against either Riddick or whoever the Kings throw out there. I think it could happen at least early in the contest. So over 1.5 minus 120.
And Riddick's the goalie that he's actually been solid for a good, decent amount of the season, but a lot of it's been at home. He's been worse on the road. So hopefully that continues tonight. What do you think here, Matt? LA, New Jersey. Muted.
I think this is going to be an over bifecta for me. I do see, the sides of things slowing down in this game, but I think New Jersey on any given night can put up, 4 goals. And, I think the Kings have played well enough for me to trust them to maybe get 1 or 2. So I am going to do them separately because I do like the first period a lot more. The full game, I might put a half unit on. And I may even look to bet the full game over on this live if I happen to be in a situation to do that, because I might be able to get it closer to even money at that 5.5 if there's not a goal in the first minute or 2. So definitely love the first period, but I also don't hate the full game over in this one as well.
All right, Detroit and Philadelphia. We've got the Flyers minus 120, home favorites, 6 the total here in this game. I can't figure it out why our guy don't put it off. Fade Kolosov. I don't know why John Tortorella is starting him, quite honestly, tonight. But he is going to start Alexei Kol. You know what it is? They don't play tomorrow. They play Saturday, and it's not a back-to-back. With Ersson back, I think you got to keep, unless it's a back-to-back situation, play Ersson. We've said this before. He's by far the best goalie you've got right now. Better than Kolosov, better than Fedotov. Your team is playing well. Give them the best chance to win by putting in the best goalie that gives you the best chance to win right now, because Flyers are doing a lot of things right now very well outside of the goaltending that they're getting. Because you look at the offense, Mishkov's been great. Konechny's firing. Even Couturier Morgan Frost starting to heat up. Farabee and Tippett are chipping in. Forster. They're getting offense from a lot of different contributors right now, which is good to see for the Philadelphia Flyers. And there's a beatable team coming in here to Philly. I mean, Detroit's not very good. You cannot put any stock in them beating Buffalo, coming back to beat a woe-begotten Sabres team. Sabres lost that game more than Detroit won it. Detroit was on a losing streak before that. Philly playing some better hockey, like I said. And by the way, you look at the series history, Philadelphia has won 3 straight times hosting the Detroit Red Wings here in Philly. They've won 3 straight when hosting the Detroit Red Wings coming into this outing. But Kolosov does frighten me. There is no question about that. So I'm going to take Philly team total here. It's a cheap price, over 3, minus 120. That's right. At BetMGM, you can get over 3 at just minus 120 for the Flyers team total over. I like that. Cam Talbot's back from a stint, from an injury stint due to a lower body injury. He hasn't played in 11 days. I'm not trusting him to be sharp. And even before his injury, he was 1-4 with a 3.32 goals against average in his 6 starts before that injury. So Talbot was not in good form before his injury. So I think Philly, with the way they're starting to get their offense humming a little bit, I think they can get 3 minimum for the push and a good chance to get 4 or more in this game. So I like the Flyer team total over, and I like the full game over 6 as well, because I don't fully trust Kolosov. And that's why, even though I like Philly, I'm taking the team total. I don't want to have to worry about what the guy does in net. That Detroit might be able to score some goals too. So I like the full game over 6, as well as that Flyers team total over 3, minus 120. Matt, what do you think here? Red Wings, Flyers.
This is probably another pass game for me. I don't want to try and find a bet, if you will. I almost would lean Detroit here. I don't know. Especially given who Philly's got a net. We'll see who they how they play, but yeah, I don't really have a strong opinion on this game. Don't really love the totals, so I'll probably just pass here.
Yeah, if you don't trust Kolosov, and I can't blame you, no problem taking Detroit money line. But I like Philly's form better than Detroit's form right now as a team. But I don't trust Kolosov, so the easy answer for me, the easy approach for me is team total over for the Flyers tonight. I don't have to worry then about Kolosov. Just score the 3 or 4 goals that I think they can get tonight against Detroit. Because again, Talbot hasn't played in 11 days. And even before that injury, it was a 3.32 goals against average for him in the 6 starts before he wasn't playing his best before that. So, like I said, I think the Flyers, again, Flyers have scored 3 goals or more in 8 of their last 9 games. 8 of their last 9, at least 3 goals for Philadelphia. So that's why that team total is a good look to me. Over 3, -120 at BetMGM. 3 minimum for a team that scored at least 3 and 8 and 9. I'm cool with that. Alex, what do you think here? Detroit, Philadelphia.
Yeah, just taking a shot here with the draw. I grabbed +325 at BetMGM earlier. Not really the highest of prices. You're not going to find at 340 or 350 in many places with this one. Obviously, with Philly's track record of going past regulation. So I would lean also with the over. Like I said, if you do like a side, maybe this is the time to use that MGM over with the and money line parlay. But like I said, I can't trust either one of these teams or either one of these goalies. So lean with over 6, but already on the draw +320, 325.
4 straight games for the Flyers, 6 goals at least, by the way. So that's another reason the over's appealing here for me in this one. All right, next up, Chicago Blackhawks, New York Islanders. We've got the Islanders -190, home favorites, 5.5, the total here in this game. The Islanders had won 2 in a row, got everyone excited just for a brief moment. They beat Ottawa, they beat Carolina back-to-back over the weekend. And typical Islanders fashion, they come back home, they lose to the LA Kings the other night by a score of 3-1. Obviously, in this kind of a price range, the Islanders are an absolute no-go for me at this kind of a price, laying -190. And under Anders Sorensen in Chicago, the new interim head coach, they're 1-1. They lost to a good Winnipeg team, but they played pretty competitively. They then beat the Rangers 2-1. Very solid road effort from this team. No question about that. I like all the quotes coming in from Chicago are all positive about the players responding to Sorensen. That it's given us a little spark. I like what he's been saying. He's really come in here and really trying to help us in various aspects of our game. All the kind of things you like to hear regarding teams after they've just made a coaching change. And like I said, the coaching bump is often real. It doesn't happen for every team. There's the odd team where you get the coaching change and it doesn't create that lift. But for Chicago, to me, I've seen enough evidence in 2 games it has. And more than anything, I'm okay fading the Islanders in this kind of a price range. So give me Chicago here, +170. I think they're a very live road underdog. I was tempted to go with the split team total, but they've also, only scored 2 goals in each of the first 2 games. I think one of these days, this approach of letting the defenseman jump into the play that Sorensen's allowing is going to pay dividends at some point. You're going to eventually see them score a few more goals. So I'm probably just going to do Chicago money line here rather than team total in this game. But certainly the Islanders way overpriced in my opinion, which isn't a shock when you see where they're at here. Alex, what do you think here? Blackhawks, Islanders.
Yeah, Hawks team that's got some good momentum off of that win in Madison Square Garden. They said a lot of great quotes coming from there. Arvid Soderblom was a great quote talking about how excited he was to play at Madison Square Garden. And then it made me think about his dominance with Toronto against Toronto as well. And you think he's a Swedish guy, Toronto, all the history they've had with Swedish players. Seems like he might have been jabbed to play them. You mentioned Henrik Lundqvist and being at Madison Square Garden. Everyone knows that famous arena. So it's something to keep a note of. Maybe he gets a little more excited against those teams that represent kind of, or he's seen over the years growing up with this country. It's something we can kind of look at with maybe some of these other Swedish or Finnish players, especially as we get kind of down toward the 4 nations face-off. There's a couple of trends that I like regarding countrymen playing in that, but that's way down the line. Here in this game, I like the Hawks, though. I think this is a good price for them, like overpriced for the Isles. And I also like a player. I mentioned it to you last night. I've actually had the circle for a couple of days in the bargain bin. I don't do this often. I did it once last year, and it did come through. I had Sidney Crosby first goal, and it was a night before play. This is only the second time I've ever had a bargain bin that I played the night before, so I'll mention that later on.
There you go. And I already know what it is. Yeah, bargain bin special for this game for Alex with Blackhawks and Islanders. Yes, Raymond Reddington mentioned the first period over. I forgot to mention that. I do like that as well. Just the first period over. The first period over is 2-0 for the Blackhawks under Sorensen. But yet the full game is actually 2-0 to the under in the first two games. Actually, that's not true. The Winnipeg game went over. 1-1
Right.
it is.
Yeah.
But the Ranger game stayed under. But 2-0 first period over under Sorensen. So I just like the first period over only in this game.
Endorse it. I endorse it, but I won't be betting it pregame because it's such a cheap price. I'll be watching this game. I'll bet it live as soon as it crosses over the plus money. So
yeah, the Blackhawks had their best period against Winnipeg for sure was the first period. And I thought they played a first period with some good jam, some good jump the other night against the Rangers, which is also a big reason why that first period went over the total. So I do like that. Again, first period over since the coaching change for Chicago is 2-0. Matt, what do you think here? Chicago, New York Islanders.
Not much to add because I like Chicago here and I like the first period over. So those are the two bets I had before jumping on the show in this game. I could see it 2-1 either way after the first. Hopefully Chicago, that's kind of where I lean. And then I could see it kind of slowing down and end up being like a 3-1, 4-2 type game. Heavier on the under though. But again, I'm not going to bet it either way. But yeah, I love Chicago in this one. I think the Islanders in that LA game kind of resumed back to their ways, and I think Chicago can steal 2 points here.
Believe it or not, he's on the top line now. Siplikov, I would look at for the Islanders. Now that he's on the top line with Horvat, some good value. And by the way, Anders Lee, who's actually been one of their best players offensively lately, the Islanders, their captain, finally started to score goals. I think 5 in the last 7 games. He may not play tonight. Game time decision with an illness for Anders Lee for the New York Islanders. So he may not go. And believe it or not, it's a big loss now with the way he's been contributing offensively for the Islanders here of late. All right, next up, we've got Vegas and Winnipeg. Winnipeg Jets minus 120, home favorites, 5.5, the total in this game. I like Vegas here a little bit, plus 100. Not a big bet, very small bet, but I did take a little shot with Vegas here. Winnipeg off the emotions of the Boston game, got hairy in the third period, got very cantankerous, bad blood, and we saw it spill over, multiple scrums, multiple fights, 3 fights in a row in that game in the third period. You got Joe Sacco and Scott Arniel going at it between the benches or on the benches there in the third period. So emotional game. They beat the hell out of a Boston team that we kind of thought was fool's gold with the way they were winning with Sacco, right? So many of those games were against weaker competition. And sure enough, they stepped up on the road against a pretty solid Winnipeg team, and they got blasted in that game. Winnipeg took advantage, credit to them. But, now can they back it up here? Because the one thing the Jets have not done recently is win 2 in a row. It's actually been a while since the Jets have the only 2 wins in a row they've had in over a month was Chicago and Buffalo back-to-back. Big deal. I mean, Chicago and Buffalo back-to-back wins is not saying a whole lot. And Vegas has owned them, whether it's regular season or playoffs. The playoff series 2 years ago, Vegas has had the better of this series. So the only concern would be Vegas's kind of up and down road record versus Winnipeg's strong home record. I'm okay with taking Vegas, though. I have too much inconsistency right now with the Jets. And the emotion of that game the other night, not easy to roll back and play strong again. What do you think here, Alex? Vegas, Winnipeg.
No, this is gonna be a pass for me. I've already got a lot of stuff. This is a big card. This will be a game I will watch. Maybe jump in live, but nothing pregame.
All right, Matt. What about you? Golden Knights, Jets.
Pretty similar boat. I would lean Winnipeg generally, but given what you said on the having won 2 games in a row, that worries me a bit. And even though it's a good price, I can't back Vegas on the road against a good team. Typically I'd lean first period over, but Aiden Hill played well in his last game. Obviously Hellebuck's back in the lineup tonight, or getting the start tonight. So obviously 2 capable goaltenders to shut things down early. So it'll probably be a pass for me. I may tune in for this, as Alex mentioned, and maybe something live will come up, but nothing for me pregame.
Yeah, as far as props, Dorofeyev's been good. Barbashev, we've talked about him for Vegas. For Winnipeg, uh, watch out for this guy. We know Connor and Scheifele and Velarde and everybody got on the board the other night against Boston. But if this guy's going to be on the second line like he is tonight, he got on the board too against Boston. This Russian, Nikita Chibrikov here, the 21-year-old. He got a goal and an assist against Boston. His first appearance of the season, his debut. And I like the value with Nikita. Even though I like Vegas in the game, I like that value for Winnipeg with the Russian. On the second line, it looks like with Nemesnikov and Perfetti. Nikita Chibrikov here, the 21-year-old. He got 2-point night in his first game this season with the Jets against Boston. So someone to keep an eye on. All right, next up, we've got St. Louis hosting San Jose. The St. Louis Blues minus 180 home favorites, 6 the total. St. Louis, they're only their second game under Jim Montgomery at home here tonight at Enterprise Center. But the only previous home game they've had with Monty, they lost in overtime against Philadelphia. And look, the Blues have been a meal ticket for me. The Blues have been a meal ticket for Alex lately during this run with Montgomery. I think it's time to sell tonight, as far as I'm concerned. This is a very dubious spot for the red-hot St. Louis Blues. And if they're just playing so well and this wave of momentum under Jim Montgomery keeps going tonight, I'll tip my cap and say salute. Well done to St. Louis. But they're off a 3-1 road trip. The Vancouver game was the difference between a 2-2 road trip and a 3-1 road trip. They get the win in overtime, courtesy of our, I think, new favorite player in the league. Maybe mine certainly could be Dylan Holloway with all the goal props. We're cashing in with him. And they get the 4-3 win in overtime against Vancouver. I relayed the story yesterday on the show of our great friend, one of our great family members of the Ice Guys, Rich H., who works at Celebrities Nightclub in Vancouver, running into Dylan Holloway and Jake Neighbors and Colton Parayko and Joseph and a bunch of other Blues players that were there just for a late night enjoyment, if you will, at the nightclub, late night party, if you will, to wrap up a winning road trip after the game on Tuesday night. And now after that, you're flying all the way back home to St. Louis after that great trip. And you got to play a San Jose team that's, look, not great, but they're feisty. You know, they beat Washington on this road trip. They took Carolina right down to the final seconds the other night, losing 3-2 to the Hurricanes. So you got to give them credit. They battle every night. The only thing I don't like is I've got to back, if I'm going to back San Jose, I've got to back Alexander Georgiev in net, who's been Fade City for me all season long. And Georgiev, teams with Georgiev in net are won once in the first period as well going into tonight. But my goodness, this is just a great spot to go against St. Louis. It's just tricky to me. San Jose's been feisty. If you actually look at the Sharks and the Blues, San Jose has always caused this team some grief. You know, it's pretty amazing just how much of a tough out the Sharks have been versus the St. Louis Blues in recent years. It's 3-2 San Jose in the last 5 meetings, and the only 2 St. Louis victories, albeit they were the last 2 head-to-head games earlier this year, they both went to overtime or a shootout. The Blues emerging victorious in both of them. So, yeah, I'm doing it. I'm taking San Jose tonight. I am basically a turncoat, if you will, on St. Louis and Monty for one night. I just think this is a very tough spot. I like San Jose here, first period and full game, but more on the full game because of Georgiev being in net and his bad first periods this year. But certainly more skewed to the full game money line, plus 165. And I'm going to sprinkle on the draw, too, just because of the fact that both of the previous meetings this year went past regulation. What do you think here, Alex? Sharks, Blues?
Yeah, right. They're with you, Blues, and draw. And I'm not worried about Georgiev. I think the change of scenery.
For one night, man, you're on a new team. Show up here. Give it your all. Come on, man.
But even moving forward, though, because now he's in a spot where he should have been last year. He's in a spot where Colorado should have put him in. Now he can be a 1A and a 1B guy again, rather than being the number one workhorse like it's 1997 and playing every fucking Avs game. Now he can rest and maybe play tonight, and then he won't play for another 3 games. And then he'll look sharper and sharper, and he'll get back to – listen, we love this guy as a backup with the Rangers back in the day.
And he was solid, yeah.
He's washed up. No, he's been in a bad spot for the last 2 years, in my opinion. So I think we're going to see a rebirth of Georgiev in due time. I think it starts tonight. I think this is a good spot to fade the Blues at home. So I'm with San Jose, but also taking the draw too.
All right, Sharks and draw for Alex here in this one. And like I said, look, I was going to probably take San Jose in this spot already, but I got to admit, we got our little tidbit there, our little story that took place down there at the old nightclub there on Tuesday night from Rich H. And it just made it even more appealing to say, this is going to be maybe tricky for St. Louis here, coming off that high of that road trip. And obviously ending the road trip with a nice little fun Tuesday night in downtown Vancouver after that big overtime win for several. And those are several of the key Blues players that Rich saw there. Parayko, big-time defenseman. Holloway, Neighbors. Those are, some of their better players. I think Robert Thomas might have been there, I think, too. Yeah. I think he mentioned maybe Robert Thomas as well. Like, they all had an enjoyable end of their trip there. So that's a little dubious for what maybe expecting an A game from them here tonight. Matt, what do you think here? San Jose, St. Louis.
I think I just like goals in the first period in this one. I think Gorgiev is going to get a fresh start in San Jose, but until he proves otherwise, I just like goals in the first period of this game. I could see him giving one up early and then kind of tightening it up, and then, things sort of slow down throughout the game. And but yeah, I'm going to take the first period over in this one, but I think that'll be my only play. I would lean San Jose if I was to take a side. I may sprinkle a couple bucks on it, just given the value. But yeah, I like first period over here.
All right, first period over for Matt. And even though I'm on San Jose tonight, we're betting the Dylan Holloway prop once again. We just have to at this point. 7 goals in the 6 games that Jim Montgomery's been there. Absolutely incredible stuff. Now, finally, the adjustments are being made. Okay, the best price out there for him tonight is plus 300. So there you go. Finally, barely bargain bin worthy tonight for Holloway, but it's still a pretty good price there, plus 300. So we got to take it. All right, Nashville, Dallas. Got Dallas minus 210 home favorites, 6 the total in this one. Predators and Stars. I mean, what more can you say about Nashville? I mean, that was a spot with a Calgary team that's not been good on the road to maybe get yourself into the win column and some level of positivity. And no, you just lost your 8th straight game, 4-3 at home to the Calgary Flames, who haven't been very good on the road. Now you got to go to Dallas after losing that home game to Calgary, a Dallas Stars team that they had a tough couple of games at the end of the trip against LA and Vegas, and they bounced back at home, beating Calgary 6-2. So the same Calgary team that went into Nashville and beat Nashville 4-3. The Stars beat them pretty handily 6-2 the game before that. Dallas won 4-3 in Nashville, first game of the year, of course, 9-2. Now, Nashville's won 2 in a row here in Dallas, but boy, just a totally different Dallas team, a different Nashville team that was last year, clearly. It's just very difficult to back them. They can't score consistently. Their center ice position is horrendous without Ryan O'Reilly. I mean, Stamkos, Svechkov, Novak, and McCarron are their top 4 centers. That's horrific. That's horrendous, no matter which way you slice it. And now Roman Josi is out tonight for the Nashville Predators, who's actually leading the team in goals, if you can believe it, coming into this game tonight, Roman Josi. So Adam Wilsby, Nick Blankenberg, Shea Shen, Delgaizo, and Kevin Gravel is their defense tonight. Oh, my gosh. Yikes. And then Saros hasn't been anywhere close to as good either. They can't score. They're not defending anywhere close. They got a makeshift blue line. Got it at the center ice spot. This should be a Dallas win. I don't like the price, though, with Dallas. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take Dallas team total. I cashed Dallas team total against Calgary. They got 6 goals in that game. All we're asking is 4 tonight against a Nashville team that gave up 4 to Calgary the other night, a Calgary team that did not score 4 goals in a game since early October, prior to the 4 goals they put up the other night in Nashville. So Dallas team total over. It's the only value. I don't like the, obviously the regulation line is not even phenomenal either, minus 130. So looking at that team total, which is a nice cheap minus 105. For Dallas team total over 3.5. Matt, what do you think here? Preds, Stars.
Yeah, I like that team total. It's one of those nights. that could typically be a trap spot. I sort of talked to you about it pre-show. Dallas takes the game off playing on paper a good team, but a really bad Nashville Predators team this season. But when you look at their defensive core, I mean, they've got maybe 3 guys that should be playing in the NHL. Their offense hasn't been stellar. They've got injuries up front as well. And I mentioned it on the show. There's 2 kind of reasons I still feel good about Dallas in this spot. Jake Ottinger has not lost a game at home yet this year. It's obviously going to happen at some point, but until it does, I don't know how you bet against it. And also, you didn't mention, but what did we determine? That
Liam Bixel.
Bixel will be making his debut tonight.
Google Bixel.
Yeah. So that he's been a hot prospect for Dallas for a couple seasons. Had a good year last year in Sweden, in the Swedish Elite League, and then's been having a good season so far in Austin for the Texas Stars. So it's one of those things where I kind of felt like, maybe they take the game off, maybe Ottinger gets his first L at home. But I think that kind of gives them a boost. You always want to play well when a guy's making a debut, especially when it's a guy that has sort of been a highly touted prospect and a guy that they're hoping becomes a big player for him. So I'm going to be on the team total over. I'm also going to be on the puck line. Somebody mentioned it in the chat, but I had it written down pre-show that 10 of their 11 wins at home this season, they've covered the puck line. So when they do win at home, they are winning pretty handily. And then the line that I love tonight for props is that Marchman, Duchesne, Stankoven line. I'll be on anytime goal, anytime assist, anytime point for the 3 of those guys, or for the 3 of them. Duchesne was bought out by Nashville. It's been a full season, but that's something that you'll always have a chip on your shoulder about. And guys like Marchman and Stankoven, they want to help show out for the guy that, maybe has that chip on their shoulder. They've got that team chemistry. They want him to look good. So I'm hoping that line has a big night tonight. But yeah, Nashville's just in shambles. They're not a team that I could back. Dallas minus 210 is way too juicy for me. But I do like the other angles that we're looking at for this one.
No doubt. Now, as we know, Matt's a little bit more, as far as the Robinson brothers, who are big Dallas Stars fan, a little bit more not living and dying with every regular season game. He realizes it's a marathon, not a sprint, 82 games. Just get into the playoffs. What matters is April, May, and June, what this team does. So a loss tonight's not the end of the world. That being said, it's a woeful Nashville team. So on a scale of 1 to 10, Matt, your level of disappointment and anger if they lose tonight, what would it be?
A 1 out of 10. I mean, it's December.
Wow.
I
thought maybe you'd say 3, 4, or 5. I didn't expect you to say 8 or 9 or 10, but I expected maybe 3, 4, or 5 at least. That's maybe a pretty bad loss, but yeah, it's one.
It's a beat up division rival. I mean, you're not supposed to lose this game. In my opinion,
it would be disappointing, but would it, cause me anger in my actual life? No. To Alex's point, yes. Like, not only is this a Central Division team, and not only is this a struggling team, it's an injured, broken down team. There's question marks how long their coach is going to still be there. So this is not a good team to lose in this form. But we mentioned it. It's the fucking NHL. Like, Nashville could win this game 5-2, and it's not the craziest thing that happened on Thursday. So it's hard to.
Might be up there, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I mean, in general, not just the NHL card, but that might be the biggest upset of the night. But I think people forget that. Like, you can have a struggling team with some D-core issues, and Saros could come out and play the game of his season, and Dallas lose 2-1. No one would be that shocked. It is the NHL. So obviously, because of my betting angles, that's not how I feel. But I'm just kind of saying anything can happen in the show. So. I would be bummed. It would be a bad loss. Would it be the end of the world? No, not really. But yeah.
Now, if you were a Dallas Stars fan, Alex, would it be a little higher than 1 out of 10 for you?
Yeah, it would be. I was about to say, if this was the Chicago Blackhawks and go back in the day, a good Hawks team in laying 200 against Nashville, and they're missing their top goal scorer, and they're in poor form, and at home, I'd be pissed if they lost.
There you go.
That's just me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't go the Ryan Robinson route either and say,
Oh
fuck this
no,
team.
it's not end of the world. It's not end of the world, of course. It is just one game, but I definitely, I would not be happy about them losing a game in this spot.
I'd probably go to bed a little upset, or maybe have a couple extra whiskeys before bed. But by tomorrow, I'd be on.
Yeah, then you move
on to the next
Saturday.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bing bong, as you say, on to the next one. Yeah, exactly. With Dallas, life goes on. Oblada, life goes on, brah. Yeah. Alex, what do you think here? Nashville, Dallas.
Yeah, well, like I said, because of Nashville missing, key pieces and already being in poor form, I can't back them in any fashion. But this is a little high priced to be backing Dallas, so this is one I'll be waiting for live. Like I said, with a big card tonight, no reason to jump in early or anything. I will be watching this because these are always two fun teams to watch. Like I said, it's a division rivalry, not just a division opponent. These two teams, I mean, like I said, they've had their animosity and bad blood over the years, so it's always makes for good viewing. We'll just see if it makes for some good betting opportunities during the game.
I'm going to sprinkle on the Bixel goal prop just for shits and giggles at 13-1. But even at FanDuel, his point prop in his NHL debut is plus 400 just to get a point. And this is a guy that's, can make something happen offensively a little bit, Bixel. So not bad. Plus 400 just to get a point, even if it's just an assist. So that's not a bad price at all, in my opinion. All right, next up, we've got Edmonton and Minnesota. This is an interesting one to really look at, and I'll get to that in a moment. Edmonton minus 140 road favorites in Minnesota, 6 the total. We got Minnesota off the long roadie, right? And a pretty good road trip, a pretty satisfying end to that road trip, but they are still banged up in key spots. No Brodin, no Eriksson Ek, but they've plugged along very nicely without those two guys. That was a great, thrilling comeback win that made all of us happy on the BetCast the other night against Utah, because a lot of us like Minnesota in that spot. And they were able to get the job done. But now they come back on the at home. Not a great spot. They haven't been as good at home either this year compared to on the road. They've actually, for a change, Minnesota's been better on the road this year than they've been at XL. They've still been good at XL Energy Center, but even better on the road. We'll see how they fare here. I mean, everything to me screams Edmonton. They're playing well. They lost at home to Minnesota earlier this year, but minus 140 kind of feels like a stiff price, a steep price on Edmonton, considering the fact Minnesota's dominated this series, especially here at XL Energy Center. You got to go back a while to see when Edmonton's won in Minnesota. It's been some time. So those factors and the price being where it is, like I was definitely circling Edmonton here, but then I saw where the price is, minus 140. You see that the fact that Minnesota's won, 4 straight here at XL Energy Center against the Oilers. It was enough for me to stay off Edmonton. You know what I like, though? The last 4 meetings, we've seen 11, 7, 6, and 8 total goals scored. We're starting to see it for Minnesota in the Utah game. A little more of a track meet, a little more up and down. Brodin's a big loss on the blue line defensively. Eriksson Ek's one of their best defensive forwards, one of their best shutdown forwards. And without him, who's going to shadow and circle around McDavid and Draisaitl all night here for Minnesota? That's a huge loss defensively. Give me this very cheap over 5.5 at minus 125 in this game. That is what I like. You can, if you shop, it's 6 at a lot of books, but if you shop around, you'll be able to find over 5.5 points bet at minus 125, Betway at minus 130. You can get a over 5.5 at minus 125. I really like that in this game. I think that was just a sign of it in the Utah game for Minnesota. Brodin and Eriksson Ek being out of there, you're not as good a team defensively. You do take a little bit of a hit at the defensive end without those two guys. So I think Edmonton can find their way to some goals tonight, but I think Minnesota can score. You look at what they're doing consistently offensively. Kaprizov's on fire, Boldy's on fire, Rossi's on fire. They've got multiple players that are playing such a high level right now offensively for Minnesota. They have scored 3 goals or more in 5 of their last 6 games coming into tonight. So I think at 5.5, we've got a nice little bargain here for over 5.5, given the situation. And when are you going to get Edmonton at 5.5 totals? Not very often. What do you think here, Alex? Oilers, Wild.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with that 5.5 and the over as well. I was trying to, debate. Do I want to tie that with a side? But I really don't. Minnesota coming back off the road trip. This could be a bit of a flat spot. Like you said, even though they have played well against Edmonton, and I was looking back, seeing some of the recent results. 4 straight one here at XL Energy Center. Like I said, 3 of them have been very high scoring. And I find it interesting too. Edmonton's one of the teams that doesn't stay close. They don't stay down here in St. Paul. They actually stay out by the airport. I don't know if that has anything to do with how they've played. The fact that they might have to travel back and forth in a day across town before getting ready for the game, if they have a skate or anything like that. But I don't know. Like I said, they've really struggled here of late. So maybe even a lean with Wild team total. So that's something, if I do add that, I'll look to maybe jump on and add that, and I'll be on the Patreon page. But as of right now, over 5.5, I see that minus 130. I see it up to 135 is a little steep. If you see it at 135, just wait for that live to drop down a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that's wise. By the way, these two teams have been kind of not great for first period overs lately, but been better for full game overs. So that's why this is just a full game over for me with Edmonton and Minnesota, the over 5.5. And minus 130, says Jonathan at FanDuel. So there you go. If you have FanDuel, it's minus 130 there for over 5.5 here in this. I definitely lean Oilers, but I'm also scared off by, I got to admit, Pickard starting. Because Skinner has been really good, really solid. He was really good in that Tampa Bay win the other night. And Pickard lately, he's given up 3 goals in back-to-back starts. His numbers overall, his goals against is not bad, but its save percentage is .892. You'd like to see that be better. What do you think here, Matt, with Edmonton, Minnesota?
I think I'm going to do a little variation of the same game parlay because I love the over at 5.5. I'm a little weary on the first period over. So I'm going to take the first period over a half and then the full game over at 5.5. It's minus 120 on MGM right now. So it gives you a little better odds than a 130, 135. And all you need is 1 in the first period, which I think if we're going to hit the over at 5.5, you need at least 1 in the first more times than not. So play with a little Matt Rob special variation to the same game parlay on this one.
All right, good stuff. Vasily Podkolzin, and I still like the price there with him playing on the second line with Draisaitl. Good value there as far as goal props. And for Minnesota, just hammer the same guys. I mean, it's Kaprizov, it's Rossi, it's Boldy. They've been absolutely tremendous for this team. So we definitely look at that here going into this particular game from their side for goal props. All right, next up we've got Tampa Bay and Calgary. Tampa Bay minus 150. Road favorites in this game. The total sitting at 6 across the board. So Calgary's been definitely a much better team at the Saddle Dome, without question. The home record's been good. The road is where they've been terrible. Unless you play Nashville, where even the worst road team can win. And that's what we saw the other night for the Flames. But no, they've played a lot better at home. I just don't know if the home success is going to be continuing indefinitely for this Flames team. 10-3-1 here at the Saddle Dome. And then you got Tampa off a loss to Edmonton 2-1. I feel Tampa's the bet here, the way to go. But I don't like the price for Tampa Bay, minus 150 here in this game. Laying that kind of a price on the road, no thanks. Not to mention Calgary's won 3 straight head-to-heads versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I feel like in this particular situation, I'm going to go Tampa team total instead against this. I'm going to hope that Calgary defense from the road finally shows up at home for a change rather than being this juggernaut. I can't figure out why they can defend at home and they can't on the road. But I think Tampa Bay is going to be not taking this team lightly, not taking this game for granted after losing 2-1 to the Oilers. So I do like Tampa Bay here. We'll go with their team total over 3.5 plus 108 in this game. Alex, what do you think here? Lightning, Flames.
Ooh, I got to give you a slight not so fast, my friend, because I like the under here. I think this is definitely a spot. I mean, Calgary's had Tampa's number there. Like you said, not only have they won the last 3 meetings, but they've won last 3 in Calgary, but 4 of the last 5 overall. And like you said, Tampa Bay if there's any time where they're going to string losses together, right? We love the Bolts off of a loss historically. Yeah. But if there's any time for them to string 2 or 3 losses together, it's usually out west. It's usually in this trip. This has always been kind of a historically tricky spot for them. So
you're right about
you've got 2 good goalies against each other projected, Wolf and Vasilevsky. I think this could be a low-scoring game. So shop around at FanDuel. You can get minus 128 with the under 6.5. That's what I'm siding with tonight.
All right, good stuff. So hopefully we get 4-1 Tampa. Everyone's happy. There you go. That's the one score that can satisfy us both. There we go. Lightning 4, Flames 1. We'll all be happy. We'll all be winners with this game. Matt, what do you like here? Bolts, Flames.
This may be a pass again. I I love Tampa Bay at home on the overs. Don't like them as much on the road, and Calgary has played much stronger, a little tighter at home. So I'm sort of at a loss with this one. We'll see how the early games in the night go. I think this game starts at 6 o'clock my time, so 9 o'clock Eastern. So we'll see how the sort of the vibe of the card is. There's definitely nights that we hit 4 or 5 early game first period overs. Goals are going left and right, and then this may be a game I jump into. But at the moment, I think I have no plays on this one.
And it looks like, by the way, Cirelli's a game-time decision, but Chernak will return for Tampa. And then Mitchell Chaffee up to the second line with Paul and Hagel. So I already like Nick Paul for prop, but Mitchell Chaffee might be worth a look, undervalued for Tampa Bay, moving up to that second line here in this game tonight. All right, next up, and remember, we've got 3 more games on this Thursday slate, plus we're going to talk Ottawa, Carolina for Friday at the end of the show. Next up, we've got Utah versus Colorado. Colorado minus 180. Home favorites. The total in this game, 6.5 across the board. This should be interesting because we've got, obviously, for Colorado, the potential to see the Avalanche debut of Blackwood here tonight. But, he's been out due to, I believe, an illness it's been the last few days. The question, just update. It is Wedgwood again. So Blackwood not quite ready to make his Avalanche debut just yet with that illness. So it will be Scott Wedgwood, the Wedge Wall, one more time getting the start here for the Colorado Avalanche in this game. We project Vejmelka for Utah, although that hasn't been confirmed as of yet. But Wedgwood is in for Colorado. Colorado beat them 5-1 earlier this year in Utah. We'll see if they can get the job done here again. Wedgwood's been solid. The one game against Carolina that he lost, he gave up 5 goals. But as I've said many times about that game, they were awful that night, Colorado. He bounces back. He gets the shutout against New Jersey, plays very well in the victory the other night against Pittsburgh, 6-2. They are coming off a road trip, okay? So that's the one thing that I am concerned about here with Colorado. But I'm liking what I'm seeing from them. It feels like they're starting to put a little bit of a run together, slowly but surely, the Avalanche, getting healthier as well up front, even though Drouin is still out. And they still have, of course, Manson on the back end missing in action. They've been able to put together a decent stretch of hockey. This Sam Malinsky is going to be a good defenseman. He's really been someone that's kind of stepped up here, played well in recent games on that back end for Colorado. Nothing significant here, but I did grab a small piece of Colorado team total, over 3.5, minus 120. I think that's a decent approach here in this game, thinking they might be able to get to 4. What do you think here? We lost Alex. We'll go to Matt, who's now getting some exercise in. What do you think here? Utah, Colorado.
Yeah, I lean pretty heavy Colorado here. I'm not going to lay minus 180 on them, but I do like that team total a lot. I know I saw a quote from McKinnon talking about Wedgwood and how he's been a great contribution, not just in the locker room. He's very light, fun, easygoing guy. But he's also been a rock in net for him. So I think, he continues that. And I know at some point, if you played him the way they played Gorgiev, he would slow down. But I think he's about as good 1A, 1B, or at least as good a backup as you can have in the NHL. And so if Blackwood continues to play well, it worries me a little bit as a Central Division fan of a different team. But yeah, in this spot, I know they're coming off the road. I think Colorado takes care of business at home. The one thing, I lean Colorado a lot at home because of the altitude factor. Utah, that's not going to be as big a deal for them. I think Denver's a little bit higher altitude, but not much than Salt Lake City. So that shouldn't be a factor for Utah, and they've got a lot of young legs. But I just think Colorado, if Wedgwood continues to play the way he has, I think Colorado takes care of business.
Yeah, like I said, with another thing too with this game, I do want to point out I might look for a live. I'm going to do the Alex B. Smith approach here with the first period over. I do like it, but I don't like the pregame price, minus 150. Is what I'm seeing with it at a bunch of spots. But Colorado's 8-2 to the first period over in their last 10 games, so I'll probably look for that live after the first few minutes, assuming we get no goals in the first few minutes of this game. Alex, how about you? Utah, Colorado.
Okay, one big thing I got to go back with on Tampa Bay, Carolina, cashing out on that under 6.5 because I refreshed goalie posts and now I see it's Dan Vladar confirmed. So that is not Dustin Wolf and Vasilevsky. That was the reason
Oh,
for looking
there
for
you
an
go.
under.
That does
So I've
change things.
cashed that out. So yeah, so I let everybody know in the chat, but I want to let everybody know listening and watching. We've cashed out of that 6.5. So if you haven't bet it, good. If you can, cash out of that. Back with this Utah and Colorado. For the record, Salt Lake City is 1,000 feet lower in elevation than Colorado, 42, like around 4,200 feet. So yeah, not much of a difference there as far as if these two teams play each other, will they feel a difference back and forth? If anything, no. That's the reason why we like fading teams who've been through both cities within a given week. But with that being said, this is another one I'm passing and waiting to watch live and jumping in on, like I said, with the big card. This is one I don't have much on pregame. Just kind of want to see how the pace and tempo goes. I feel like this could be a just kind of fire wagon over game. That's just my gut feeling, but I want to see that pace first. And I think with the 6.5, we can wait and maybe jump in early in the contest.
All right, good stuff there. All right, Boston and Seattle. Next up, we've got pretty much even money, minus 110, both sides here. The total 5.5 across the board, sitting at around minus 115 in this game. When you look at these two teams, they're both off losses. Seattle, a hard-fought, tough loss in a overtime against Florida shootout, I believe that went to the other night. And then, of course, we saw the Boston Bruins get absolutely crushed by the Winnipeg Jets, 8-1. Not a good performance at all. And this is the road trip. This is where we're going to find out what Boston's made of because they feasted on patsies at home for the most part to build up that record under Sacco. And now they're going to go on the road, face better teams. They got Seattle, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton coming up the rest of this road trip. So the rubber's going to meet the road here for the Boston Bruins in these next few games. There's no question about that. But both teams off a loss. Both teams only scored one goal in those losses as well. So I expect aggression early. I expect, both teams to want to come out, get that first goal, get on the board early, be aggressive offensively. Boston's gone over the first period total in 5 straight Boston games have gone over in the first period. So Boston, Seattle over 1.5, minus 110 first period. That's what I like here in this game primarily. I'm going to sprinkle on the draw, though, as well. Plus 314 is the best price I found at Pinnacle. 3 straight meetings all time in Seattle. Bruins versus Kraken. All 3 games decided by 1 goal. 2 of the 3 games going past regulation. So I'm going to take a shot with the draw here as well. Alex, what do you like here? Boston, Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, I do like the draw spot. The prices are icky though. I'm seeing the highest thing is actually 320 at MGM, and that's awfully low for the highest price. That's all 280 at FanDuel. So everybody's thinking the same thing. So I probably will have a little bit of draw in pocket, but I have more on that first period over. I think, like I said, that's something we've seen with these two teams as well. Even though these two teams, we know they can get into an absolute shell offensively. I think when they meet up against each other, we see the goals come in. Like I said, more often than not, it goes past 60. I remember cashing big with this matchup last year. So give me first period over and draw on this one.
All right, first period over for Alex as well here, and the draw smaller. Even though I agree, the price not the best, but the prices haven't been the best lately across the board for these draws. We are really starting to see a tightening the squeeze, if you will, on these draw prices. Much to our chagrin, we thought maybe at some point never going to happen. We're always going to get plus 350 or better.
We're going to need ideally we're going to need a stretch, and it'd be nice if it's say or before the Four Nations tournament of games just not going to overtime. Yep. And then things can reset in time for what's the real draw season, that second half run. So that's what we're hoping for. Hopefully, at some point, we can get maybe where these draws go a little cold, and then the prices readjust, and then we can hop back on.
Yeah. And by the way, we've got Jonas Korpisalo in net tonight, not Swayman. There's not much of a difference, though, right now from Swayman to Korpisalo, because Swayman's obviously had his struggles throughout the season. So Korpisalo for Boston. No confirmation yet for Seattle, but you would expect it's going to be Joey Decord the way he played against Florida. Matt, what do you think here? Bruins, Kraken.
Yeah, I like the over bifecta, traditional over bifecta. Boston's a team. Aaron knows this in the chat that I've had some choice words with this season just because, I'll take the first period over. They'll get 2 shots on goal. They're not a team I trust a lot offensively on any given night. But when you lose 8-1, typically there's some sort of response, right? I mean, these guys are pros. There's going to be some sort of response. So I think there will be goals early. And I think minus 115 for an over 5.5 is a pretty good price. Maybe we see a 3-3 OT. Maybe we see a 4-2 game on an empty net, but all we need is 6 to hit that over. So I'll be on the traditional over by Fecta.
All right, good stuff there. The only thing keeping me off Seattle, because I almost did bet Seattle minus 110, is the fact that that wasn't just a loss for Boston. It was an ugly loss. It was an embarrassing loss to Winnipeg the other night, 8-1. Otherwise, I would be on Seattle, and I do lean to Seattle here in this game. I just think a little more long-term upside for them than Boston right now. I think Boston, I'll be honest, with all due respect to Joe Sacco and the wins they accumulated with him initially, a lot of it was at home against weak sisters, okay? So now we're going to find out what Boston's made of here, this road trip. And it did not start off well, obviously, against Winnipeg. All right, final game for tonight, Florida and Vancouver. We've got the Florida Panthers minus 170 road favorites, 6 the total here in this game. Panthers, obviously, off the 2-1 shootout win against Seattle. Vancouver, I mean, they just continue to be battling themselves here. I think it's also not just physical, it's mental with a home record. They're now 4-10. 4-10 at Rogers Arena this year in Vancouver. So that is definitely not what you want to see at all from them as far as a home record is concerned. They are going to get one of their leaders back. It looks like JT Miller is a go for this game tonight for the Vancouver Canucks, and certainly that is significant, to be able to have him on the ice and back in the lineup, certainly a spark, and that's something to take note of because we know what he means to this hockey team. But they're still missing Filip Hronek on the blue line. They are going back to Kevin Lankinen. Very interesting. They gave Thatcher Demko his one return start, and then all of a sudden they go back to Lankinen here in between the pipes tonight for this game against the Florida Panthers. Panthers, one thing I've noticed with them, when they've been held in check offensively one game, sometimes the next game it's a breakout game. There's been a lot of instances where 1 goal or fewer and they've scored 4 or 5 the very next game. And you might see that here tonight. Now, it's technically 2-1 that they beat Seattle, but they really only scored 1 goal, during the game in regulation time. So I think this is an over by Fecta, and I like Florida team total over 3.5 here as well. I know I already bet it, so I'm locked into all these 3 bets, including the Panthers team total over. But like I said, right now with I do think that's a good thing for the Canucks getting JT Miller back, and I think that could be something that gives them some extra inspiration here tonight for this particular game. That being said, Vancouver continues to have a tough time defensively without Hronek. They're putting so much guys on Quinn Hughes, so much, and they've got to ask defensemen that I don't know if they're comfortable with increased minutes, increased responsibility, increased workload, outside of Quinn Hughes, because after him there's a drop off, and after him and Hronek, it was definitely a bit of a drop off. Desharnais and Forbert and Mark Friedman and Tyler Myers and Carson Soucy. And I like Carson Soucy, but you don't want him playing, 20, 25 minutes a night. And a lot of these guys are going, same with Myers, same with Forbert, same with all these guys. But they're going to have to now because, of the injury to Filip Hronek, which is a big deal for Vancouver on the blue line. So over by Fecta, and also a Panthers team total over 3.5 at plus 110 for me in this one. Alex, what do you think here? Panthers, Canucks.
Just rolling with the draw on this one. That serious history with both these teams, especially Vancouver of late being a heavy draw team. So I got the draw plus 325 at BetMGM.
Yeah, I don't mind that. This was actually one I gave the draw a little bit of a glance. Might sprinkle on it myself. We'll see as we get closer to the puck drop of this game. Bobrovsky, by the way, no surprise in net tonight for Florida. Matt, what do you think here? Florida, Vancouver.
I lean over here. I feel fairly good about Florida as far as sides go, but not enough to lay minus 170. That's a long way from home. So, I know Vancouver had the overtime loss to St. Louis the other night. So they'll be looking to bounce back. So I could see it kind of either way, but I don't know if I trust them enough, to beat Florida, especially with Bob's in net. So, this may be a pass. I think this is one that, again, I'm likely going to bet the over on. I just probably will wait until we get kind of into the night.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Vancouver home games this year. The fact that we can get a 5.5 for the total in this game, that's what made me like this full game over as well. Because you look at the Vancouver home games this year, I'm looking to see what they would be if every Vancouver home game was over 5.5. What would the over record be for Vancouver home games this year? I'm just adding it up right now. 2-1, 3-1. Let me see. 4-1, 4-2, 5-2, 5-3, 6-3, 7-3, 8-3, 9. It'd be 9-3 to the over 5.5 in the 12 home games this year for the Vancouver Canucks. So, like I said, with the home games that they've had, lot more games have gone over 5.5 at Vancouver than not. So another reason why I like the full game over here as well with the Panthers and the Canucks. All right, so that's Thursday's action, but we have one game on Friday night, only one game in the NHL, and we decided we'll talk about that on today's show so that we can take Friday off and be ready for a huge Saturday. So we will talk Ottawa versus Carolina. This is on Friday night, of course, in Raleigh, the only game in the NHL taking place on Friday night. Carolina minus 200, home favorites. The total in this game sitting at 6, pretty much across the board. Oh, there we go, Jonathan, with even better stats to back up the full game over. Every game with Vancouver's home underdogs gone over 5.5 this year. So there you go. That's what I like to hear. So Ottawa comes in here. Look, Ottawa, that was a pretty solid win against the Anaheim Ducks. Now, Anaheim's obviously got their issues, but I like that they came out. They said, we're taking care of business tonight. We're not screwing around. It's the right attitude to have when you got a weaker team coming into your building. We'll see if they can maintain that focus here. Now, the last time they were in Carolina, and I remember betting Ottawa in that game, they got shut out 4-0, and Spencer Martin had a shutout out of nowhere against the Ottawa Senators in that game. Carolina's won 6 of the last 7 head-to-head versus the Ottawa Senators, including 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row here in Carolina as well. The only 2 Ottawa victories were both in Ottawa. It's not easy to trust Ottawa, but do I want to lay minus 210 with Carolina's not playing their best right now. Okay, so I don't want any part of Carolina in this kind of a price range at the moment. They're 2-4 in their last 6 games. The wins were Colorado at home, and they did play a pretty solid game there. But the only other win was the San Jose game, where they were down in that game 2-1. They had to rally back and win by a score of 3-2. So, the series history is a little bit tricky for me right now to trust Ottawa fully. I think if I were to get involved with Ottawa, I'd prefer the team total with them tomorrow night, which you'll definitely get a 2.5 with Ottawa's team total tomorrow night in that game. If I'm able to get that, maybe I'll be interested in that. We'll see. Certainly, we'll have to see who's in net here for the Carolina Hurricanes tonight, or tomorrow night. But you would assume it'll be Pyotr Kochetkov. What I would say right now is, we'll see who's in net. If it's Allmark versus Kochetkov, I still might go with an Ottawa team total over 2.5, but it'd be difficult for me to trust the money line given the success Carolina's had historically in this building against the Ottawa Senators. And by the way, if I'm not mistaken, Carolina's on a nice little heater to the first period over of late as well. 8-2 for the Carolina Hurricanes to the first period over in their last 10 games. So first period over, I might get involved with that as well on Friday night. Early thoughts looking ahead, Alex. Friday night, Ottawa, Carolina.
Yeah, just kind of scrolling through and seeing what was available on FanDuel. Maybe take a bargain bin range shot with a Shane Gostisbehere to score. I'm seeing plus 600, something like that. Obviously, if we do have anything, we will be posting it on Patreon, even though we won't be on tomorrow. But as of right now, nothing really sticking out. I just have to take a little deeper look in the evening tonight, and then come up with something for tomorrow.
There we go. Yeah, as far as props go, I mean, Batherson had the hat trick against Anaheim. So there's no doubt that's not a bad option for Ottawa props the way that he's going right now for them. Josh Norris has been pretty solid for them of late. There's no question. For Carolina, like I said, for them, a lot of their younger guys are starting to step up. And it's as I think Jack Drury, by the way, he's out long term. Who's going to step up now? Jackson Blake's on the second line. There's probably a little bit of value with him playing with Jordan Stahl and Eric Robinson on that
Actually, I'm looking at some changes here on left wing lock. Blake's going to be dropped down from the second to the fourth line.
Oh, okay.
It looks like Svechnikov's moving up to the top line. Jack Roslovic moving from the fourth to the top line. Kokaniemi moving to the second line.
Oh, right.
So
Well,
there's some changes that are listed.
Yeah.
So he might be the one with some good value there. At
once
plus
you said
490 at FanDuel.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And once you said Jack Roslovic going to the top line, I'm definitely going to be on Jack Roslovic. The last time he was on the top line for an extended period earlier this year for Carolina, he was scoring. So he's got the opportunity probably to get involved again offensively for them as well. I know we've talked a lot too about Adam Gaudette. So he's still playing on the second line. I think eventually he's going to regress a little bit with his offensive numbers, but you're still getting a decent price for someone that's been a surprise offensively this year for Ottawa. Matt, your thoughts for Friday night, the only game in the NHL, Senators, Hurricanes?
No huge looks for me. Maybe once I see goaltenders confirmed, I like that first period overlook. That'll probably be my only play. But also with today's big card, we'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll take a day off since there's just one game on the NHL slate tomorrow. And we'll go into Saturday where we have another big card.
There we go. Nothing wrong with that. All right, there you go. That is the Thursday and Friday NHL card right here on this edition of the Ice Guys. Yeah, Alex, go ahead.
Oh, just wanted to mention, I know some people said they're going to be bored tomorrow not having us on during the day, but we have something coming up at patreon.com/iceguys. We have a new player suite interview, right?
And it's being posted tomorrow. So you'll see, and I'll make sure I get it posted on the page by around noon or 1 p.m. Eastern time. And that way you'll be able to, right when you usually watch this show at 2 p.m. Eastern, you'll be able to watch our player suite interview that we recorded last week. And it's a good one. It's an old school NHL player from back in the 80s. And it's a lot of fun talking and hearing his thoughts and his stories, his experiences playing in the NHL a few decades ago. So looking forward to that tomorrow. It'll be dropped on the Patreon page exclusively, which is a great segue into making sure that everyone is aware, if you're not subscribed to patreon.com/iceguys yet, what the hell are you waiting for? Get on board. Goalie charts, totals charts. Again, Ice Guys Player Suite episode being posted tomorrow on the Patreon page. We're going to start our exclusive Patreon only Ice Guys Live betcasts in January. And of course, our daily betting card posted there each and every day. Sides, totals, player props every day on the Patreon page. So make sure you sign up. Just $10 per month. Your subscription goes a long way to supporting the show long term. So make sure you sign up. Just $10 per month. Patreon.com/iceguys.
About that. Yeah, also check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. We got everything rolling right now, and you got basically about 3 or 4 days left to get everything to your house in time for Christmas underneath the tree with free standard shipping. At some point, you'll have to start using the expedited shipping. You have until around like the 20th if you want to use like overnight shipping, but don't use all that extra money. Spend that on at the store and get the free or reduced standard shipping, because we do have a coupon coming up this week as well. So that's all right now at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
All right, check out the Ice Guys store again right now if you want to get your stuff before Christmas Day arrives. All right, bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Support for the Ice Guys podcast is provided by Boston Hemp Incorporated, Manscaped, Power Play Sportsbook, Raise Your Game, Tailgater Social, and a big thank you to all that subscribe to the Ice Guys Patreon page. Everyone loves a perfect pair. Bacon and eggs. Thunder and lightning. Mario and Luigi. A hot dog with fries. Ian and Alex B. That's right. Everyone loves a perfect pair. So why not pair up your game nights with Boston Hemp? From exotic flower to concentrates and edible products. You'd be hard-pressed to find a better pairing than Boston Hemp and hockey. Check them out today at bostonhempinc.com. That's bostonhempinc.com. Boston Hemp Incorporated, the official smoke sponsor of the Ice Guys. Void where prohibited by law. Not available outside of the United States. Must be 21 or over to obtain products. Check your local regulations to see if Boston Hemp is available in your area.
All right, make sure you check out, of course, Boston Hemp Inc. are great sponsors of the Ice Guys show and the official sponsor of the Betcast as well. 20% off all orders on the website using the promo code IceGuys at bostonhempinc.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night for this Thursday slate. Tons to choose from, obviously. Alex, we'll go to you. What do you like in the bargain bin for this Thursday night?
Yeah, so I teased it earlier. I said I'd bet this yesterday, and I've had this circled since Monday. Shout out to Adams Digest, too, on X. We talked about this spot and this player the other night, and I said, I don't know if he's going to score against the Rangers, but I think he's live to score against the Islanders. That's Kevin Korchinski of the Chicago Blackhawks. Of course, he's been called up, played well in the last game, and he seems to be a guy that, like I said, with Anders Sorensen's plan of having the defenseman jump in the rush, firing shots on net, I think he's live to get a goal here. You can get him at plus 1,200 at FanDuel. I see 11-1 available also at BetMGM and DraftKings. So shop around. Kevin Korchinski, anytime goal for the Hawks tonight. That is my bargain bin special.
All right, there we go. Kevin Korchinski at a great price, too, for the Chicago Blackhawks to light the lamp against the New York Islanders. For Alex B. Smith with his bargain bin special of the night. Matt, what do you like for your bargain bin special?
Yeah, obviously a big card, a lot of options. I mentioned Strome anytime goal is something I like. Stankoven anytime goal is something I like, both bargain bin worthy. But who would I be to stop what's worked? Hasn't scored in 4 games. Look at this ugly motherfucker. Can you guys see that?
There
okay, cool. The Stefan Nason anytime goal. It's right at plus 300. Got to stick with what's working. So give me Stefan Nason to score tonight. Let's get
Is that why your camera feed went off for a bit so you could make that happen?
Yeah, I was messing around with the settings. I haven't put a virtual background on StreamYard before, so it took a second to download the image. But let's get it. Let's get it.
I know, Matt.
I was wondering what was wrong with the screen too. I wasn't expecting that.
Because we could hear him, we couldn't see him, but there he is. He's making sure he made his plain old buddy magically appear right behind him there, Stefan Nason.
I hope he scores tonight. I can't wait to cut this clip.
No, exactly. Yeah, he's got to score now.
I sent him the last one, and he was laughing. So if we get him this one, and I put his bald head on the screen, he'll be laughing even harder. So. Let's get it. Hopefully he breaks the 4-game goalless streak. It's funny. I was looking. He had 3 games with no goals. Then he scored in 2. Now he's had 4 games with no goals. So maybe he's due tonight. Maybe the pattern continues.
Yeah, hopefully that is the case. And like I said, you're getting still right on that bargain bin price. Plus 300. Steph Nason, New Jersey Devils. Shocker for Matt Robinson with his bargain bin special of the night. My bargain bin special, even though I like Vegas in the game, doesn't mean I can't use the other team, a player from the other team for bargain bin. And for Winnipeg, I'm going to use Nikita Chibrikov at plus 480 at FanDuel. You show up in your first game this season with the Jets against Boston, and you have a 2-point night, including a goal. That made me take notice. Arneal trusts him. He's on the second line. Great opportunity. I liked what I saw from him. So let's go back to Nikita Chibrikov here for the Winnipeg Jets, plus 480 to find the back of the net. That is going to be my bargain bin special of the night. I believe Bailey's going with the other man from Plano as his bargain bin as we talk about Stefan Nason, Blake Coleman, who is actually against his old team tonight, right? The Tampa Bay Lightning. So it actually kind of makes sense maybe look toward a Blake Coleman tonight for Calgary. So Bailey, not bad with that thought process there. All right, best bets. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
Let's go to that late night game out west, Florida, Vancouver. Give me the draw. It's as high as plus 325 at BetMGM. And like I said, Vancouver's been a team that's been going past 60 quite often. I think they do it again tonight. So give me Panthers, Canucks draw, plus 325. It's my Thursday best bet.
All right, Florida, Vancouver draw, plus 325 for Alex B. Smith, his best bet. Matt Robinson, what do you got for us, best bet?
I'm gonna take the Stars in a best bet, which I typically I'll take a first period or a full game over, but tonight it's 10 of the 11 wins at home. Ottinger's been hot at home. Give me the Stars puck line. Nashville's not in a great form. If Dallas is going to be serious, they've got to, roll games like this against Central Division teams that are in a very low point of their season. So give me Dallas puck line. I think it's plus 120. That'll be my best bet tonight.
Go big or go homer. And Matt Robinson is doing that here tonight. Dallas Stars puck line -0.5 against the Nashville Predators for Matt Robinson, his best bet. My best bet, with that total sitting there at 5.5 with Minnesota and Edmonton, I really like that, especially given series history, especially given two key defensive components missing for the Wild in Jonas Brodin on the blue line and Joel Eriksson-Ek, probably their best defensive forward up front. I think they're going to feel those absences tonight against McDavid and Draisaitl, trying to shut those guys down and just trying to shut down Edmonton, period. A history of higher scoring games. The last 4 meetings have all seen at least 6 goals. We're getting a nice bargain here with this total. Edmonton, Minnesota, over 5.5, -125. For my best bet here for this Thursday NHL card. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button on the way out. No show tomorrow. Off tomorrow. Back on Saturday. Looking forward to it. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Tuesday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. For Alex B. Smith and Matt Robinson, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will be back with you Saturday, noon Eastern. It is going to be another Slam Saturday NHL card. So make sure you join us then on Saturday, noon Eastern, for another edition of the Ice Guys.